Hi, my name is Damon Brown, and welcome to this conversation about bringing your worth. And tonight we're going to talk about the Star Search theory. This goes back to my childhood. When I was a kid back in the 80s, we used to watch Star Search. Beyonce got her start there. I'm sure some other people got their start there. It's been a long time. And I remember watching it when I was a kid. And there were particular people on there. One guy was named Sam Harris, I think, perhaps, but maybe I'm thinking about the current meditation leader right now. But someone was named Sam something. Another person, I forget his name, but there were some amazing people on there, and they really got their start. The thing was that there were certain people that I can't even remember their name now because they had one album based on showing up on Star Search. To give a little bit of context for the younger folks out there, if you missed that, Star Search is essentially the early version of America's Got Talent, or the early version of probably closer to American Idol. Except they're not giving you a record deal; they're just putting you on and showing you to the public. And so there's a certain amount of stars that you get. I think it was like 4 stars that you can get, and you're competing one on one against someone else, and you go up in the ranking, and then you end up being the finalist or semifinalist, whatever. But people would come in and usually not have original work. They would actually come in and sing someone else's stuff because, again, you got one song. It wasn't like American Idol where it was like long seasons. You came in closer to the Gong Show, which is even older, where you had one season, one song. You came in, you had to knock that song out of the park. If you did not, then of course you'd be ranked otherwise, and it will be based, I think, not only by judges but also by the crowd itself. And there might have been people calling it. Again, it was a while ago. But the thing was, is that even as a kid, I must have been 8 or 9 when it was a hot show. It was fascinating to see people on there, and they would come out, and it would always be "Over the Rainbow," of course, from Wizard of Oz. So I believe that was Judy Garland that sung it first. And they come out, and they would go somewhere, and then I can't sing, so please don't make me sing. Though I love karaoke, and they would go and sing, and they would go like to the top, like Mariah Carey style before Mariah Carey, like just 8 octaves up. And the crowd would go wild. It was a live audience. The crowd would go wild. They were like, "Yeah, Sam, yeah, whomever." David was another person that was on there. Heavy set African American guy. I remember his face. But it's like, "Yeah, kill it, Sam, kill it, David, whatever." And then the song, because they do pretty much the whole song, somewhere over the rainbow. It's like a 4 minute song or so. Then what? You already knocked it out the park. You already hit your octave. You already showed, showed your cards. Like you showed your range already. The first somewhere, and you're going in. You got another 33 minutes, 30 seconds. Found is that we have a challenge when it comes to wanting to get hot really fast. And I went through this a little bit. I just did a TED Talk a few days ago. It went live. You go to TED.com, look up Damon Brown, DamonBrown, or go to my website at DamonBrown.net. I have a TED Talk called How to Build Power Wherever You Are. And it was so interesting getting feedback and talking to so many folks, including some of you that might be checking us out live or having a conversation about it later. And it was like the TED Talk talks about heavy stuff. I mean, let's be real, it's been a heavy year. And my stuff doesn't talk about light stuff, but it gets to heavier stuff, such as the different isms, such as racism, sexism, homophobia, which can be considered an ism, and so forth, and the power dynamics. It's called How to Build Power Wherever You Are, really for people who might feel disempowered this year, including myself. And how do you have that conversation and be honest about it, but also not alienate people in the beginning? And it's such a precarious balance. The thing is that, if you get a chance to watch my TED Talk, I start off kind of slow and then build into something. And for some folks, it was like much too late in the talk. For other folks, they were like pleasantly surprised where it shifted. And for other folks, they thought it was really intense. The thing is that that's a continuous thing. That's continuous balance. This is my 4th TED Talk, and I'm still trying to figure out that balance. But that applies to anyone, and I work mostly with non-traditional entrepreneurs, where it's independent creatives, solopreneurs, side hustlers, those folks that follow me, you know who you are. Y'all are my tribe. And so we're trying to create something out of nothing. And we're building not on the backs of other brands or within the security of a particular company. We don't have necessarily a cosign. We're building things from scratch. When I became a coach a handful of years ago, I didn't have other coaches putting me on. Like I had to figure a lot of this stuff out myself. I had coaches in my circle, but building my own business, how much to charge and all that stuff, I had to build that myself, as well as building the trust within the community of y'all. The thing is that when you come too hard in the beginning, then you might not have anything more to reveal. And it ends up being this tough balance of that. I was talking with Monique Woodard, a friend of mine, who's a VC and the head of Cake Ventures up in Silicon Valley. We go way back. You can learn more about her at monique.vc, and she's doing amazing stuff. And we were talking about this the other day and trying to balance that Star Search quality with, say, Showtime at the Apollo. And Apollo Theater, it was there, back in James Brown's era, and it's there now. And they're kind of the opposite, as she pointed out to me, where you don't want to come out doing somewhere over the rainbow and start, as they say, wilding out like at the beginning. You don't want to do that, because for that crowd, they want to see that build up and you want to see it tear down. Star Search, don't worry about that. I already explained what that experience was. Aside from Beyonce, there's a few other people that came from that. But other than that, you can fit that. But watching Showtime at the Apollo and seeing people command the stage, there was a recent viral clip, super short, that was on Twitter about a month ago. If you follow me on Twitter, if you're watching it there, at Brown Damon, and it's probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago from this day, from September 26th. And it was Lisa Stanfield, who is a white British singer, really popular, again, from that same era, like early 90s. And she did a song, Been Around the World. If you're around in that era, you couldn't escape that song. It was everywhere. And she tore the place down in a good way at the Apollo. Again, being a white British woman in the middle of Harlem at the Apollo in the early 90s. Like, so let's picture that. It's worth looking up her performance, because even with the little clip that was there, she was like dancing on stage and all that, but it was like towards the end. And so that's what I wanted to kind of hop on and talk about, is be mindful that there is a process to everything. And so as a coach, as a creator, if you know that that your market is at a certain place, your market needs to be at a certain level. You're trying to serve people at a certain level, and they need to get at that level. You can't necessarily just say you need to be at this level. If they knew that and it was that straightforward, then they probably would have done it already. So they're coming to you for guidance. At the same time, if they end up coming to you for guidance, whether it's upping their game with a new product, a new service, coaching or consulting, as I do, public speaking, as I'm doing a form of right now, a TED Talk, whatever, you also don't want to be an empty calorie, the equivalent of that with food, where you're just eating something, it feels good, it's sugary, and then an hour later you're hungry and you might even be cranky because you didn't get the nutrients that you needed. And so there ends up being this tough balance. I've been struggling with this, to be honest. But that's one of the reasons why I thought about this. I wanted to hop on and share that with you, because I was talking to, again, Monique and some other trusted colleagues where, again, I just did my 4th TED Talk a few days ago. I've been entrepreneur in residence at the Toledo Library, and that was a year ago exactly. And I've been on the stage multiple times. At this point, I've coached hundreds of people. Like, I have that guidance and that experience. And even I'm like trying to find out where that balance is. And what I'm realizing, what I'm sharing with you, is that balance is continual. And I have mentors and friends I was talking to this week. I'm like, I don't even know, like, was the TED Talk is on the level that I wanted to be, and I had this intention, but some people are getting this intention, other people think that it's great. That balance will always be there. But one thing I do know is that you cannot come out necessarily guns blazing, because you have to make sure that people understand where you're coming from first. And that might be a short process, or that might be a huge process. And that gets into giving people a place to actually go. My TED Talk, as is a lot of TED Talks, was under 18 minutes. It was 14, maybe 15 minutes. And as some wonderful people pointed out, around the 2/3 point, suddenly the talk starts to shift. And now I'm kind of processing, well, maybe that shift could have happened earlier, should have happened earlier. But at the same time, it's creating a framework for that discussion. And that I think applies to any business that you do. If you want people to move from one area to the next and they need your help, then obviously they don't necessarily see that vision, and or they can't necessarily do it as quickly as you do because you already have been on that particular journey in most cases. And so you need to ease them into it. And that means maybe being a little bit more gentle. It means having a little bit more of a discussion. It means providing as much context as possible for that. And if you do go hard, as some people I really look up to and respect do in the beginning, you have to, as they say, ease them into it and backtrack and give more context to it, right? So if you don't know me from Adam, I'm trying to give you some insight, then you need to build that trust, as a lot of the speakers that I look up to talk about. But it's not only just with speakers, but also with whatever you're trying to create. So yeah, I think that's a good way to start discussing bringing your worth. Bring Your Worth is my most recent book, and then my upcoming book is called Build From Now: How to Know Your Power, See Your Abundance, and Nourish the World. And it's my 25th book. It's the latest in a series of recent books about the stuff we're talking about right now. And I'd love for you to be part of this journey. And even if you're not, hopefully this is a little gem for you. Maybe you'll walk down memory lane if you're familiar with Star Search. But keep that in mind. Sometimes you don't have to go out super, super hard. Sometimes you go out a little bit hard, and then you create context, and then you end with a bang. And hopefully they have that transformation that you truly want them to have. Because again, isn't that our intention with everything that we do? So I hope that you're bringing your worth, and I hope you're building from now with whatever you got. If you want to connect with me or learn more about the work that I do, I'm over at damonbrown.net. And if you want to join the community and have a discussion, I have a discussion every single Wednesday at 5:55 a.m. It's a newsletter. It's a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right here. You can connect with me, learn about my coaching, my column, all this good stuff that I'm trying to pass on to you as a established entrepreneur, speaker, and creator. Then again, come to joindamon.me. Be well.